What's up, everybody? In the second to last video we made, we talked about harmonic balancer wobble on the C5 and C6 Corvettes. And I suppose that applies to any LS2, LS3, maybe even the LS1 engines, how the harmonic balancer wobbles. We went over what a good harmonic balancer looks like on this car right here. And we went over what a bad harmonic balancer looked like on this car here. So today in this video, we're going to go over what it takes to replace that bad harmonic balancer, which at this point is right over here. We're going to go over it and show you the install. So we feel that actually gaining access to the harmonic balancer is pretty simple. So we're going to skip a lot of the disassembly to gain access to the harmonic balancer, but I will give you a quick rundown on what needs to happen. Both of the upper control arm, these 4 bolts right here on both sides need to be taken off. You can leave the upper control arm, just take those 4 bolts off. You're going to disconnect the 2 bolts that hold the bracket for the sway bar on both sides, 4 bolts there. You're going to disconnect both of the tie rods here and leave them connected to the rack. And then it is just a matter of taking out all of the actual subframe bolts, all of the big bolts that hold the subframe to the body. Keep in mind, you're going to want to support the subframe so it doesn't come crashing out of there. Find a good way to support it, and then you'll have it. The only other thing is you've got the engine mount bolts right here. You're going to disconnect the nut on both sides and the upper nut on both sides and pull those bolts right out of there. After that, you'll be left with a cradle that is on your support, and you can pull that baby right down and gain plenty of access to your harmonic balancer there. So let's get into what it takes to actually pull that harmonic balancer off, and I'll show you some of the reassembly as well. Labor guide says to remove the steering rack and remove the control arms and all this crazy stuff that you don't need to do. So this video should be able to help you. You do not need to remove the steering rack. All you need to do is what I just told you. So once you do have the subframe loose, it is important to know that you will need 2 different devices. One lifting device or jack to hold the subframe up, and then another lifting device or jack to lift the engine up off of the subframe. Once you do that, though, you'll gain the amount of clearance that you see here. So the tool you see us using that's green is a Chrysler harmonic balancer puller that's actually a Lona tool from AutoZone. If you need the part number, you can go back in our first Corvette video, and I will show you the 2 different part numbers of the 2 different special tools that we use to do this. What we're doing here is just adjusting the special tool and inching this harmonic balancer off 1 turn at a time. We're using a socket as a spacer, and this baby's about to pop off of here any second. Never use an impact on your special tools. It finally broke free. So the new harmonic balancer is called an ATI Super Damper. It's really popular in the racing world, and it's known to not fail. In addition to the ATI Super Damper, we are using an ARP harmonic balancer bolt in hopes that this will never have to come off again. The good thing about the ARP bolts is that if it does have to come off again, you can reuse it. All of this stuff costs a lot extra, but it is reusable, so you do the math. Here you can see us torquing the harmonic balancer, which is in 3 pieces, to 16 foot-pounds for all the small bolts there. Now that the harmonic balancer is fully assembled, we can put it on the vehicle. So there's another special tool that we got to use. It's called a long reach harmonic balancer pulley installer. This is also a tool that comes from AutoZone, and it has lots of different, it doesn't have a lot of different, but it has 4 different bolts in it that allow you to screw into the crankshaft and install your harmonic balancer. This is another one of those processes where you just got to inch it along and keep checking it and keep adjusting it. Be sure to save your old harmonic balancer bolt too, because you will need it at some point in the process. There will become a time when the special tool that you're using, the long reach harmonic balancer installer tool, has maxed out and you can't get the balancer on any further. At this point, you take the special tool off and use the old bolt, to suck the harmonic balancer down onto the crank all the way. Alright, now that the harmonic balancer is pressed on all the way, let's prep our new ARP harmonic balancer bolt. ARP always sends this lube with all their bolts. They say that you have to use it in order to get the proper torque. The proper torque for this bolt is 235 foot-pounds. And apparently you need the lube to get there. So we'll just lube this thing up all the way on the threads, not on the base of the fastener, just on the threads, and we will get it put in. Again, this is a special bolt and it is different than all the rest. If you have to take this bolt off, you can reuse it, as opposed to the the OEM GM factory style bolt. Anytime you take that bolt off, you're supposed to replace it. So this is kind of a no-brainer. This bolt costs somewhere around like $30 to $40, I think, and over the lifetime of the vehicle it will pay for itself. And that's it. Hold the flywheel one way or the other with a friend and torque that bolt down to 235 foot-pounds, and then reassembly begins. The good thing about all of this is that you never actually removed the entire subframe, you just lowered it a little bit. So everything's going to go back in place really nice and smooth. Once you have everything in place, you can go ahead and start tightening your fasteners. You can see in this video we're just running the bolts down, not tightening them all the way, because we are going to follow up here in a couple days after the weekend and torque all of these bolts to spec. So to recap on reassembly, you have the upper control arm bolts that you have to put back on and tighten. You have the sway bar bracket bushings that you have to put back on and tighten. You have the outer tie rod ends, all of the subframe bolts to the body, the engine mounts, upper and lower parts of the engine mounts. There's going to be, like a total of, I think 4 nuts there. And then after that, just follow up with the torque wrench and look up all the torque specs and you will be good to go. Now technically, since we disconnected the subframe, you should get an alignment, but that is up to you. So thanks for watching, guys. We love you guys. We appreciate you. Be sure to smash that like button and subscribe to follow us for more content. And here pretty soon, we're going to be moving on to this because we got a little issue going on. We put the fans on the wrong side of the radiator whenever we built the car. So we were in a parade a while back, and the temperatures just kept creeping up and creeping up and creeping up. Finally, we had to pull out of the parade. Normally, the car stays at a temperature of around 204 when you're not sitting still for a long time, but that parade really showed us that we need to do something about this radiator. So what we did was we bought this. This is a 4-row radiator as opposed to a 3-row radiator. And also, it has these nice fancy shrouds, and the fans are on the back side of the radiator. So it's gonna really help. We'll have to do a little bit of wiring and make sure that they are pulling the air the right way through and everything. But that's no problem because we've already got the relays and everything set up. We just have to probably like flip a couple wires or something like that and do a little bit of soldering. So stay tuned for that. And then we've got a surprise coming out in the future for this car, and it's a big surprise that adds lots of horsepower. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you later.